The ancestor of the English alphabet is the Phoenician alphabet, and as we discovered in last week's video, the Phoenician letter with a G sound became the English letter C. So where did G, the Latin letter with the sound G, come from? Find out in this video. Looking at that progression of alphabets, we can see that the Latin alphabet developed from the alphabet used to write Etruscan, which was an ancient language used in Italy. The Etruscan language didn't have a G sound, so when its alphabet was adapted to write Latin, there was no letter to represent G. Latin, however, did have a G sound, so how did they write it in an alphabet that had no letter for it? The sound K has a lot in common with G phonetically, and Etruscan did have a K sound, represented by the letters C, K, and Q. Because these sounds are similar, Latin used the same letters for the sounds K and G. As I explain in more detail in my video about the letter Q, C subsequently became the dominant letter in Latin to represent the K sound, as K and Q became restricted to exceptional environments. But having one letter to represent two different sounds in a language isn't an efficient way to write. In Latin, there are words like acer and ager, which sound different and have different meanings, but are written the same if the letter C is used for both the K and G sound. So to solve this problem, a new letter, G, was invented to represent the sound G, while C represented K. G was created by adding an extra stroke to the letter C, differentiating it from C and making it the familiar shape we know today. So G was made as a variant to the letter C, and we think popularized in around 230 BC by schoolmaster Spurius Carvilius Maximus Ruger. Why then has it ended up as the seventh letter of the alphabet between F and H? We might expect it to be put next to C in the alphabet, or just thrown in at the end. Well, remember how the Latin alphabet came from Etruscan, which came from Greek. Well, educated Romans with knowledge of Greek wanted Latin alphabetical order to match up with the system of Greek numerals. Under the Greek numerals system, the first letter of the alphabet, alpha, was 1, the second letter, beta, was 2, and so on. This letter, zeta, used for the number 7, was not used in Latin and was removed from the alphabet. G was put in 7th position to take its place so that the numbers assigned to the Greek letters would correspond with the position of the Latin letters in the alphabet. If you're familiar with Greek, by the way, you'll see that this numeral system isn't the same as the letters at the start of the Greek alphabet. It represents an earlier incarnation of the Greek alphabet, before the letter digamma was removed and zeta changed shape. Talking of letters changing shape, you may be wondering why the lowercase letter G looks so different from the capital letter. Lowercase letters developed later than capital letters, when more people began to write with pens, and have different forms because writing with a pen produced more rounded shapes. You should be able to see in the following illustration how a heavily stylized capital G became the lowercase g we're all familiar with. A slightly differently stylized version produces the alternative lowercase g, called the double story or loop-tail G. Did anything in this video surprise you? Are there features of language you've always wondered about? Leave a comment. While you're here, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you'll get another video from Philologism every week.